isn't it? Just I can rest it on. To
Why don't you just fix it?
I'm trying to fix it.
Badaman is right.
He says, live now, Sam, for you.
Yeah. So Sam was given a microphone that I paid for out of the money that we've got for the podcast, and isn't using it, and he's only using a phone which has so far fallen over 7 times.
I think that's cracked it now.
Yeah, I don't
What,
believe
the
what you're
phone?
saying. Well, here we go. So, good evening and welcome. Henry is joining us any moment, as always. We even started a little bit later. Evening, Kyle. How are you? My voice is a little bit hoarse because we were all at Blundell Park. So, take that one, you meanies.
Not as hoarse as mine.
No, that's true. It was lovely to be there in the silence, in the bloody sun. Daniel, evening, Kyle, evening, everybody. Come on, say hello. Let's get you on the old chats, and we'll put it up there. It is Henry's logging in as we speak, but we were all up there. Thank you to Mariner, Hoddo, and the family for joining us at the cricket club. It was nice to have a couple of drinks, and some had more than a couple of drinks. I don't know what Sam did, but Bruce is annoyed with him as he spent his night on the couch. Hoddo, you are not being replaced at all. I will happily, firstly, because he's not using his own the microphone I gave him, and also his thing keeps falling over, I'll happily swap you in right away. If you
the phone stopped falling over, if you've noticed. So at least criticise me for things that have not resolved.
Stephen, evening from Italia, nice and hot. What's the temperature over there? Because over here it is uncharacteristically warm, and there's going to be a lot of disappointed children tomorrow. And back from the dead, he's alive.
Hello,
mate. How you doing?
Yeah, good. How's it going?
I'm good. Yeah, were you at Blundell Park on Saturday?
Yes, I was, but I was fashionably late to that as well. I missed the first goal. I heard it, but I didn't see it.
You missed the first goal. Wasn't that like in the 20th minute? 36 days.
It's about 12.
Okay, well that shows how good I was reporting it. Yeah, well it was lovely. We had the post transfer window meltdown followed by a 2-0 win, which calmed everything down and dampened the flames. And then I assume we'll lose against Bradford and it'll be back up again, and everyone will hate the world. So I'm glad we're at this plateau of sensibleness. And we want to hear from you about your thoughts as well. So thank you for everyone who's put it on Twitter. If you've got any thoughts on the game, send them in on here or put them in. Or actually, YouTube and Facebook are best. Twitter's terrible, or X or whatever you call it now. Put it in there, and we would like to have had a Bradford fan on, but apparently they're quite a small club, and I pissed off the bloke who runs the lower league look account so much that he blocked us.
Pissed off might not actually cover it.
He was a strange chap. I mean, I like our Mariner, Mighty Mariner, and Andy who does it. I think Andy still does it, doesn't he? But if you're wearing the mascot costume and then complaining about the home fans, you've got a screw loose. But there we go. So he's not coming on. Stephen says the moaning from some at the end of the transfer window was ridiculous. Mariner Hodder is regretting saying that we would have got battered against Gillingham. Do you know what? If you want to go back, we've recorded our DN35 live. It is out to download. You can't watch it on Twitter or Facebook or YouTube. It's an old school podcast. It is immensely out of date because it was before the transfer window shut and before the Gillingham game. So it's at least 2 chapters late, but it's there for you to listen to. Andy hasn't been around. All right, sorry.
Basically, there's about 6. The 6 of us look like a bunch of melons after that.
Nah, we're all right. Andy hasn't done it for years. Fenty turned around and said he had to be paid. He had to pay to be him. Who does it now then? I don't know. I have no idea. That looks great. Perfect. So I guess we should probably start instead of doing a normal preamble. Let's be, to the point and precise and not have a name chit chat. No inane chit chat.
Open wide for some soccer!
And now the shipping forecast issued by the Met Office on behalf of the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency at 1130. Go! At 1130.
don't think I've ever wanted to be on a stand more than my life around there. They're going crazy. Hey, they got a penalty here. There'll be fish flying about there. There's no tomorrow.
What a magnificent piece of football! A really, really good goal. You can't make it straight like that.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the DN35 podcast. Professional, no inane chit chat, just down to it. Grimsby Town won 2-0 against Gillingham, and the transfer window shut without anyone signing. There was some, anger, but everyone else was happy, and the Mariners got 3 points. And we will see you all next week.
Open wide for some soccer!
You fishy little fuckers! Right, here we are. Everyone was in Grimsby. Everyone watched the game. And for those who say that, we don't go, I didn't see as much as I thought I would usually do. So it's not as a good a review as it would usually be, I'd imagine. But it was an interesting one. Well, I see a different angle. If you're sitting the Osmond at the back, you don't get a good view of what's going up in the Pony. So it's an interesting one. Henry, it is great to have you back. Doing harvest season is over. The fields of Lincolnshire have been harvested, so I assume you are back out and loose.
Yeah, just about. Hanging in there, but yeah, managed to get to the BP for the first time this season. So yeah, overall it was a very good performance, I think. I mean, this is the first time I've joined the podcast this year, but I think if you look at the window as a whole, I think we've made a lot of good business. I think yesterday I could see the frustration in terms of not bringing anyone in or getting those deals over the line. But I think it depends really a lot on bringing in Donovan Wilson, how quickly he can get fit, how quickly Otis Khan can get fit. I think if you bring those two players back in pretty quickly, then I don't think we're in need of anyone really. I think it's more dictated by injuries. And if that starting 11 stays fit, then, we'll be fine, I think. But we're a bit thin on the ground behind that at the minute, which Hurst himself said. So I think it's more an injury worry rather than a quality of player that we've got in. So, we'll just have to see how quickly we can bring those two back and how well we can keep everybody fit, really. But overall, I think that was the best home performance I've seen for a long time. Like, controlled the game from start to finish and could have had 4 or 5, I think.
And what's been your sort of overall thoughts of the season so far? I mean, I haven't been able to see your lovely face for a while, so it'd be great. Transfer window I thought was pretty good, minus last 24 hours.
Yeah, I think overall it was a good window. I think you look at the first 6 games that we've played in the league, and 4 of those teams that we've played are in the top 7. So we've played some strong teams to start, and I got to the Notts County away game. I thought they looked very strong in terms of going forward, but very leaky at the back. And I think we are better than we were last year. I think we are a better team, but I think the caveat is that the league overall is a lot better. I think there's some very strong teams in terms of Milton Keynes coming down, Wrexham, Notts County coming up. So, whether we can finish in a higher league position, I don't know. I think we are going in the right direction in terms of the quality of the squad. But this year in particular, I think the league is very strong. So we'll just have to see how we go. But, I think if you looked at the form, I think we've probably had one of the toughest starts in the league. And, we're in the top half, 9 points from 6 games. Two tough away games coming up. But if you get anything from those, then I think you can't say anything other than it's been a really strong start, really.
Is this a good time actually to be facing the teams that were, heavily suggested to be the informed teams and the teams to watch out for? Wrexham don't seem to have found their mojo just yet. Gillingham again have been okay, but their fans sounded very moody yesterday. And didn't put in a relatively decent performance, and you get an opportunity to catch these guys cold, I guess, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to play them at some point, and I think the fact that we started okay with that difficult start means that it's probably good to get them out of the way, to be honest. And, if you're still picking up points, we've got a lot of new players in the team, and you're still picking up points against the strong teams, then, I don't think you can ask a lot more really from that start. So, overall, I think Hurst can be pleased. I get the worry in terms of the number of goals we're scoring, but I think yesterday we looked a lot better. And, I think you're right. It's basically Danny Rose, if he can stay fit, great. And how many players can we get in and around him, because he brings so many players into the game, and it's classic sort of target man that we all enjoy, really.
Well, let's start with the Friday. Let's go chronologically, and then we can do the nice stuff at the end after the win. So, the rumours are around the club that the club are interested in 3 players coming in: a left back, a midfielder, and a striker. None of them seem to have come off and didn't happen. And meltdown came. I'll throw it to you, but I'm very much of Luke Clarkson's opinion. There was no frustration with deadline day. Good business was done early, and those final day random loanees, your Mikey O'Neills and your Simmonses and your Richardsons and your O'Hara Edwards and whatever, don't seem to work for us very often. And that, I feel, was what we were probably going to get. I think the club were probably interested in getting Armstrong in, but when, MK Dons weren't successful with a bid which nearly got to £400,000 for a guy who plays for Harrogate, I can understand why the clubs, just quietly went, yeah, no, that's stupid, and then pulled out. I'd like to get your ideas. We were obviously on the piss on Friday, so our initial thoughts were quite emotional, and Sam nearly sank the barge in rage, but it was I think now cooler heads
No, I didn't.
No, that's right, you weren't competent enough to do that. Cooler heads have now prevailed, and I think most people are of the opinion that it's just because of the injuries. I think people are slightly worried. What are yours? Happy to throw it out to whoever. Sam is already unmuted, so I'll go to him first.
So I only muted to kind of push back against the idea
Yeah,
that I've
I know.
sunk the barge.
Can we just say as well on the barge, that is leaning more than it used to 10 years ago. So
I couldn't work out whether it was leaning or if just given that my state at that moment meant it felt like it was leaning.
I managed to actually, the more I drank, the straighter I managed to walk, which was sort of counterbalancing it, which is quite a cool thing.
The narrative surrounding the transfer deadline day was kind of bizarre, because people were moaning that we didn't bring anybody in, but then on the same token, people would have moaned that we brought a load of young loanees in the end of the last 2 windows. Percy is usually pretty clear he doesn't want to bring in players for the sake of it, and if he obviously made the judgment that there's nobody out there who's better, who's going to improve us. Now, you could say we're a bit low on numbers. Henry's already alluded to the fact that we're maybe exposed to a couple of injuries. If Danny Rose gets injured, you can think we're in big trouble, because we've got nobody else remotely like him who can come in and do a job, really. But we did our business earlier in the window. We're all saying how good it is. We got practically all of our business done before the start of pre-season. So you can't, on the other hand, kind of then start having a go because you didn't start bring anybody in on deadline day. Would it have been great to bring in a player or 2? Of course it would have done. But that shouldn't disguise from the fact that we've probably had the best window we've had in League 2 for probably since 2006, 2003, 2005, 2006.
Okay, I finished. Is that the end?
I'm still recovering from my escapade on Friday. My brain still not at full capacity.
You see, you give these young whippersnappers a taste of, a nice drink night out. You try and get them into the early noughties vibe of taking them into Grimsby, and he's trying to break into a closed down gullies by 11:30 at night. Mike, what were your thoughts on the transfer window? Bruce is on our personal WhatsApp group at the moment saying that I'm misinterpreting what I've said in our tweet. So I tweeted very late at night saying it was an awful end to the window, leaving us vulnerable in many positions. I still think that's true. Maybe a night for cooler heads, but the team looks a bit agonizingly light. I still stand by that it does look light, and I don't think he necessarily replaced some of the striking quality he would like, but I think we're all right.
Yeah, I think definitely. The fact we were wanting to bring 3 in just shows by definition we do think we're light. Otherwise, we wouldn't have bothered. It's whether it's as much as an issue as some people originally thought. Maybe even some of us here may have originally thought before we sat down and thought about it. We're all fickle to some degree. We just have different varieties of it, and I think sometimes we can be a little bit reactionary without actually thinking about things. And when you do look at the window, we were amazed at the time the amount of early business we did. And I think I saw somebody say that since July we've brought 1 outfield player in, and we've got a decent looking squad, as Henry said. Most of the players, if not all of them, they all look at improvement. So once you get over the initial, we were going to bring 3 players in, but we've not brought any in. Reaction. I think we've got a decent enough squad that is maybe a little bit light. I don't rule out the fact you may have a little look at out of contract players to maybe bolster that up a little bit. But once you start getting Pike and Wilson back, which I think we forget, and Otis Khan, there's 4 attacking players that we haven't had the last few weeks. So I don't think we're as bad a shape as originally thought, and maybe I even thought on Friday. And I think we've got a solid squad, and we do hear sometimes I'm not going to bring a player into that doesn't improve us, but we do. We bring in Mikey O'Neill's to try and beef up the squad a little bit, and I think that's what we're missing this year. I don't think we'd have been bringing in much quality, but we missed maybe 1 or 2 numbers. But we shall see how we get on until January, and then maybe we can have a look at it there.
I think there is something to say about the window not going right. It's not at the end. Hurst did make a point earlier on in the window to say that the better players tend to come at the end of the window because they've got an opportunity. So we have missed out in some way, but maybe that is just again another suggestion of the strength and the ridiculous amounts of money going around. Richard Fox has just put in a message saying Harrogate fans are astonished on the figures knocking around about on Armstrong. They say he's not that good. And I guess if you're putting, 400,000, we saw it with Tishmanga. They put £250,000 behind this player who started brilliantly, but then broke his leg, and it didn't really get them over the line at all. And I think they've only just recouped their value. Is that right? He's gone to Fleetwood, hasn't he?
He has, yeah. And I think the thing with Armstrong, and I think I said this on Friday, is from what I've seen, he's only ever scored goals in the Football League once. And now you're talking £500,000 for somebody that's had 1 season of scoring goals. So I think sometimes we do have to have a little bit of a check with reality about what the market is out there and how we're going to operate. We're not going to operate like that. So if you're paying £500,000 for Armstrong from Harrogate, I think the market's crazy. It's bonkers.
Just lays. Sorry, Headman.
Oh, sorry, Sam. Just one thing added on to that, which I hadn't really thought about until we've been discussing it. But I think the big money transfers aren't really in our radar at the minute. Like, we can't compete. I think that's pretty clear. We can to some degree because we've invested a lot of money, but for strikers and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds in League Two, it's just not going to happen. But one thing I'm curious about, and I think next time we do get a chance to speak to the club, but I seem to remember in the off season Jason talking about being a feeder club for a Premier League team, and we've not got any players in on loan from Premier League teams. I just wonder what happened to that, and secondly, whether in January that might be something that might come to fruition, because I think that's probably our best bet.
It was Luton.
Getting a quality striker. Was it Luton?
I'm only joking, but then we got Pepple.
Just one thing to add on to Henry. I totally agree with you, buddy. I think what some of us, or some people, need to sort of think about is that we can compete with clubs that are acting sensibly. We can't compete with some of the stupidity that goes on in this league. I say with Armstrong, 500,000. You've got Notts County with that lad from Derby, and you've got Wrexham chucking money all over the place. So we just can't compete with stupidity, but we'll do what we do well. And it looks like the model they're trying to come up with in the transfer window is a decent one. I think all those players we've got this season improve us from last season, and that's what you can ask in a window. So they've obviously been backed. We've paid fees. We've given people proper deals, and that's what we didn't used to do.
Let's have a look at some of what people have said. Stephen McDade says people just get too emotional over the window. Yes, we're a little light, but nothing major. And the performances of the new signings on Saturday show it's been a decent window. Luton had plenty of decent players to go out, and we supposedly had this good relationship from the McAtee sale. I guess, Carl, you know, it depends on what Luton want and then what we want as well. I mean, if they were offering us Peppel again, would you take it? I mean, I probably wouldn't. But you know, we're going to see how McAtee gets on, because I know we don't really talk about the Tin Pot games, but he's back here on Tuesday night. I assume he's going to score and cup his ears at the at an empty pontoon stand.
I thought we were going there.
Oh, is that what it is? I don't give a shit.
Peppel's gone to Bromley, hasn't he? Punishment for their sins over the years.
Yeah, good. Last day players are usually, Adam Panel says, last day players are usually ones that didn't want to come earlier and were waiting for a better option. I saw a very interesting suggestion go out that Brendan Kiernan is a free agent, and I just wanted to put to the group whether you'd want to see him come back as an option given the lightness up front.
Don't see it. He'd take weeks to get up to speed because he won't have had a pre-season, and then he wouldn't play.
But wouldn't that be the same as most free agents? I guess, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I suppose that's a judgment you have to make, don't you? And then you've got. I know Verdon's out for months now, isn't it? So there's no good solution to that issue. We're light, and I'm not really sure there's a lot you can do to address it immediately. Frankly,
do we know when these people are coming back? Do we know when
Vernon's going to be a long time. New year for Vernon.
I mean, at first I sensed a couple of weeks ago, a little bit of frustration maybe with Otis. He said in a pre-match interview that he looked like he's running fine to me, but he's not fit. Or something like that. I can't remember his exact wording, but it was something like that. So you like to think he's not very far off at all, but he's one of these players who has to be 100% fit to play. Whereas I suspect Hursty himself, one of those players who, if his ankle hurt a bit, he wouldn't say anything.
The Kiernan thing's an interesting thing. I think I was quite critical of Kiernan when he was here last time, and then when he left, I sort of appreciated that although he wasn't the whole product, that maybe we lost something in the squad. So I think, you know, if you wanted to go down that route, you have to find out how fit is he. Now he can be really fit, depends what sort of shape he's kept himself in, and then you have to think short term. Is he going to add a bit of quality and a bit of depth to the squad? Maybe, and I think Paul will be the best judge of that because he's worked with Brendan Kiernan. So I don't see it as something that would be a stupid idea, but not something I would think would be something we would be doing.
I mean, Sammy Nasri is also a free agent, so we could get him too.
I guess the only other thing with Kiernan for me is that when I saw him play, I thought he was quite a typical Hurst type of winger. In terms of worked hard, quite solid defensively, as well as he did offer a bit going forward at times. Think back to the Plymouth game in the FA Cup last year, but then Hurst chose not to extend his deal in January in terms of the loan deal, and I think that was available. So whether Hurst be convinced 6 months later or 9 months later to revisit that, I'm not sure, to be honest. I think there's a reason that he didn't extend him in January.
Andrew Matthews, hopefully we can kind of sum this one up, says, it's quality, not quantity. And I guess that's it. And I think, looking at the squad, out of, 6-7 players have improved the squad immensely. And, we'll go on to a little bit about, what we saw on Saturday and exactly where we can see our strengths are, because it's still a tough start to the season. Has anyone got anything else to add on the transfer window before we go to something else? Cool. Everyone's shaking their head for those who are watching the audio of this. And we are back because we do the posh thing now, because we are professional. Grimsby Town won 2-0 at the weekend against Gillingham. They also drew in Man City's youth team. I don't know what we say about that. The one thing I do say, and I have to say this, is my son and my grandfather and my dad went to it because they wanted to go and watch some football together, which was very sweet. I did not go, but I did make it back, for those of you who live in Kilby, from Blundell Park. They got out of their seats at Blundell Park to their front door in Kilby in 13 minutes. I was very impressed. So, if we want to go back to those, 1,000, 2,000 days of attendances, it'd be much appreciated because it's a lot easier to get back home. So Jane first starts us off saying, "Did you guys enjoy the fan zone? Saw Alex, Mike, and but not Bruce or Sam. Sam was probably still tired. Yeah, they were hungover from Friday night. You got to see a good performance and a fantastic win. I've got to say, first and foremost, we need aircon. It was bloody boiling in there, but it was absolutely beautiful. It's only the second time I've been in the fan zone. It is nice to see, keeping cash in the club as well. The old days of the Imperial, instead of it going there, it comes into the club again, or I guess so, or the Docs take it. I don't know, but we must get some sort of remuneration at somewhere along the lines. It is very lovely, and it's been pretty good, and I really enjoyed it, as did Charlie.
Yeah, it's not my first time though. I've been there a couple of times, and every time I go in, it has improved. I think it's great. I think the people that work on it have done a fantastic job. And yeah, nothing more to say. It's a great facility. Yeah, well done.
Right, let's go to the overall thoughts. So Taylor Blees says this: I didn't think Gillingham were that great. 4 out of 5 games they've only won 1-0. Think their problem was pushing fullbacks too high. So when they passed the centre backs, they had no choices but to hoof it. They were still the one thing I would say, they were still, they were a team that were much improved when we played them this time last season, and have only added to that in the strengths that they've had. They've got a new they had a new takeover and a hell of a lot of cash pumped into them. So they were a team coming into it with, form, and I'd rather be third winning 1-0 here, there, and everywhere than anything. And I was really surprised with the number that Gillingham brought up. I know it's a long way, but 400 when you're top of the league isn't, anything to crow about. We took the same down to them on a Tuesday night when, we're mid-table and not going anywhere. And then also they were very critical of their team, booed them off at half time, singing they were fucking useless during the game. I was really surprised how visceral they got, and the conversations we have about Town fans, we're the most critical of the lot. It just gets to show you that's just complete and utter bullshit, because you imagine the response that would have had from Town fans if it had been changed over and we just had a poor performance. What were your thoughts though? I don't want to spend too much time on Gillingham. Happy for you to add it, but what were your thoughts? Henry, you are ready to go.
I'm ready. I'm in. Good, it's an interesting thought actually, because 2-0 down away from home this time of the season, I can't imagine that the away following from Town would be anything like that at all. So that is interesting. I thought the number one thing for me from the Gillingham game that I was pleased about was, I think, they did try and hoof it, and they were a direct team, but there were times, certainly in the second half, I think, where they were passing it around the back. And I thought this in the first half an hour against Notts County. When we press well, we are a very, very good team. And certainly in the second half, I thought Gillingham just couldn't do anything with the ball. We were pressing immediately. They were struggling to do anything, and we won the ball back in a lot of good areas. And I think that's how we took the lead basically against Notts County. And, we ran out of steam in that game. But when we do have the energy behind us and we can pull that off, we are a very impressive side, I think. And that was my main takeaway, really.
I'd also add to that we're press better. And you can see they're starting to understand how to press better as a unit, if you like. You press as a unit, not individually. Otherwise, you'll just get picked off. We're also a lot more comfortable on the ball. I mean, to a man, Rodgers is better on the ball than Waterfall. Camille Conte's a different level in terms of on the ball. Holohan looks better on the ball, given he's around players who are better on the ball than him, which is allowing us to dictate and control games far better than last season. That was true even against Salford, and we controlled the game against Wimbledon without managing to score. But going back to Gillingham on their away following, I don't know. Sometimes I think that you may be able to disagree with me on this one, but we shouldn't use our away following as sort of barometer to judge other people's, because ours is exceptionally high for the quality, for the sort of level of club that we are. Even though there was a rail strike yesterday, we're taking, 1,800, 1,000 to Gillingham yesterday. Oh, sorry, was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday.
I don't want this to turn into the fishy, because that's where idiots can sometimes lay. But I think the argument is that, Grimsby's fan base, like ourselves, on this podcast, not one of us lives in Grimsby. We all live outside of Grimsby. And that's, maybe equivalent to other areas in towns and alike. But,
Yeah, Gillingham was
I
not
will
going to
still
have
judge them.
Gillingham's not going to have a large kind of fan base in and around North East Lincolnshire, is it?
And that's to their detriment, and they should be abused for that.
Absolutely.
Don't you think? Don't you think? It's piss
Yeah.
poor. It was piss poor.
Tin pot.
Basically Bromley.
Did you think of Bromley, the old grudge match?
Well, I'll tell you something. Who has the better away end? You tell me. It's a tough call.
At least Bromley's was actually meant to survive for a few years.
Exactly. See, Bromley's is better. So Gillingham.
So I actually agree with Henry that it's the fact that we pressed them so well and we moved the ball quickly and up the tempo, which you saw signs of in the second half at Walsall, actually. The idea that when we up it and we don't give them any time on the ball and we move the ball quickly, a lot of teams in this league can't cope with us. It's just a case of whether we're going to be able to kind of create and convert enough chances to really, really threaten at the sharp end of this league. Because you saw Notts County, they have some cutting edge. MK Dons quite clearly have some cutting edge. Whether we are kind of quite at that level, I don't know.
I think another thing that obviously both what you say is right, and I agree with that. I think another thing though was Clifton was a lot closer to Rose yesterday, and the wingers were a lot closer as well. And I think you could see Danny Rose was winning headers, winning little flicks, and Clifton was in and around there. And I think we've said that for a few weeks, that Danny Rose is a striker that is always busy. It's fascinating to actually watch him live. If you're not watching the game, you just watch him. He's always up to something. He's trying to sneak around the defender, wind someone up, hide from a goalkeeper, putting his hands on his head,
It was that bit when he was hiding from the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
Well,
I loved it.
He always does that. But how he interacts with the rest, or how he interacts with the players, he's always doing something. I think he's a player that you maybe look at and you don't think, oh, he's not going to win much in the air. But he won so much yesterday, and the fact we got players around him aided us to have a little bit more of a platform. And I think if you counteract that with the away game that we saw and was all there for, we missed the ability to do that at the away game where we just couldn't get out. So whenever there was some pressure, we was able to get out with it. But I think, the pressing was good. I think we're much better on the ball. And I can see why Gillingham have won a lot of games 1-0, because I don't see much threat there other than a ball into the channel than what they could do. So I was surprised by the way their fans reacted, as you've said. I thought that was, you were top at league a couple of weeks ago and you're doing that. So that's strange. But yeah, definitely my takeaway was the fact we got our wingers a little bit more tucked in, and we got Harry Clifton a lot further forward with Danny Rose.
Brilliant. Yeah. Anyone got anything else? Because if not, I can absolutely say it. I think, we were talking about it as well during the game. Gav and Clifton were a lot closer to Danny Rose. One of the things we did say before we got hammered was that, Rose has cast a lonely figure up front at times, which has been a hallmark of Paul Hurst teams for a while, where those guys in front of them just don't get close enough. And I think yesterday was a good example of how that can work, with Rose winning that tackle for the second ball, completely out of position where you'd want him to be, but Clifton takes it on, and then Issa and Holohan fill in that empty space, and that's exactly what you want to be seeing from those guys. And if we don't have strikers and we don't have the archetypal 4-4-2, that's what you need to see, is that one guy who is tenacious enough to be able to win the ball and those close enough to him to make it count. But I've got one thing I really do have to say is, considering the heat yesterday, and I think that's something we haven't talked about a lot, is it was swelteringly hot yesterday, and they managed it, and the energy levels they put out were outstanding. I'm so good, I've silenced them all. That's how good it is.
I do agree, Alex. And what I meant to say about Danny Rose when I was saying about how he's always up to something, just his ability to chase down and win things. Now, that second goal, there was a little header before then where it looked like it was going out, and he managed to get his body at an angle to keep it in, and then he chased down a ball that not a lot of other people would do, and has created that from nothing. So that's fantastic, and I think he's a really good player. And I think what we might be starting to see a bit more is players know he's going to win more than he loses. So they gamble a bit more. I saw Harry yesterday gambling on forward runs more than I'd seen him over the last few games. And I think maybe as the squad gets to know each other, those wide men in the number 10 will start thinking, hang on, he's going to win this. I might have a go on an overlap or something to try and get on it. So I think it all comes down to the fact it's a newish team that is starting to gel, and hopefully we can continue.
Yeah, and when you talk about Rose and the work rate and those little things like winning the tackle for the second goal, it just reminds you of McAtee in his first season at the club. You know, a lot of similar things high up the pitch, which have a real positive impact on the whole team. And you know, we're seeing that from Rose at the minute, and he's as advertised really, because this is sort of what we were expecting as he joined the club with good reports. So that's really good to see, and you know, hopefully he can keep it going. And I think that's one of the pleasing things, because a lot of the new players, you know, we've talked about Conte a lot, but you know, you look at and Alex is going to come on to it. I think, you know, Rodgers at the back. You know, when have we had a centre half like him? We've not had one for a fair while. You know, he's so calm and composed, and you know, he can ping a ball as well, and he's not afraid to get himself forward either. You know, a couple of mazy runs and get himself high at the pitch. It's you know, quite modern football really.
Yeah, I really loved it. Some of the thoughts coming in. So Jack Griffin says, thought we were excellent yesterday. Hurst needs to stick to that formation, in my opinion. I guess, Jack, my only thing to that would be, you know, depends on the team we're playing, I guess. We might not always get as lucky, and, you know, they come to win just as much as we do. Simon Hudson saw me on the Inside Matchday video. Thank you, Simon. I haven't seen it yet. I assume I looked resplendent. Andrew says, remember we'll possibly lose Conte for Bradford away. Yeah, true. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. And Rose had a better game yesterday, says Taylor Blees. Andrew Matthews also says, I think Clifton seemed to play in a more advanced position yesterday, and it suited him and the team. Exactly. What did I say 2 years ago? It's where he's going to be in the future. Daniel Lewis says, Danny Rose is a shithouse. I shouted to him to grab the defender's bollocks at Warsaw. He looked at me and burst out laughing, which is amazing. Wayne Jones says, we kept the ball better, pressed higher, and their game plan was screwed up when we went 1-0 up. We'll only get better with more game time. Home form is really decent. Few 1-0 away victories needed this month would set us up really nicely, and I can't disagree with any of that, really. And yeah, as Henry says, let's talk about, you know, Rodgers and the back line as well. I mean, Niall Marr jumping up, contributing with a wonderful header, you know, Luke Waterfall just doing that, you know. I'm trying to think, what would you call it? The Norwegian gif of that what looks like a lumberjack just nodding, you know, sultrily and just agreeing with him as he does it. Yeah, I thought Rodgers was class, you know, a little bit of Lever-esque, you know, in terms of the way he performed yesterday. You know, did he scrape one off the line, or was he just, you know, just close enough to go, Mike, you were near me? Or am I viewing that wrong?
Yeah, no, I don't think it was that close, but I think he did have a few vital interceptions for balls across the box. I don't think anything was quite that close, but I was a little bit higher than you, Alex. So
that'd be the marijuana. Yeah, I thought he was really good, and I thought, you know, there's so many players. Ganua, everyone was saying he had his best game for Town yesterday. My only frustration one with him, and this is really nitpicking, is we broke after about 35 minutes, and instead of using the speed that he has available to him, he just felt like he was fronting up to a player for about 20 yards, and that allowed their team to regroup. I think a little bit more confidence, he'd have probably just kept running at them, because that player is going to keep collapsing back until he gets to their designated line of, you know, hold attack. And I just think we, you know, he could, you know, with a bit more confidence, he'll probably sort that one out. According to someone behind me at Warsaw, Rodgers is shit. Look, Daniel, I'm just as guilty as saying that. I'll be honest. It won't be for him. It'll just be for someone random, just because I can't deal with my emotions. And let's say that's the same with that person as well. We're all children, let's be entirely honest. You didn't sit together. No, we didn't. My dad couldn't get up the stairs, and Mike just left us.
And we don't even talk after this, do we, Alex?
No,
at all?
No, never. I'll tell you what was weird though is we got given tickets with seats on, numbers on, and then we just got in and just said, "Oh, just sit where you want. It's fine."
Do you know what he said to me? So I went because I was in the second bit of the Osmond, and I went to go up there, and he said, "Oh no, you know, you've all got to sit down here. There's only 80 fans in the away end." And I said, well, there's not, because I bought my ticket this morning. I know there's more than that, but okay. And as the time went on, I turned around to I said to him, there's about 600 in here, mate. I said, you're going to have to probably open the back bit now, aren't you? Which thankfully they did, so I could go and get some more leg room, because I'm, need the leg room for a big unit.
It's do you know what? I quite like sitting in the let's do the old, we need a jingle. I need to find an atmosphere jingle, let's criticize Blundell Park. We don't really have one. I don't have anything now, do we? Oh, we got the Easter one. Let's do that one. Anyway, I said that the atmosphere was a bit shit yesterday, and a lot of responses were actually the atmosphere was quite good yesterday.
I was going to say it's better than it has been,
which might be
Much
saying
better.
something. Which says, does that not say more than it needs to?
I was sat there quite a bit yesterday, thinking, "Oh, this is actually all right. This sounds better than how I've been told." And I think the Osmond, it has the ability to get quite rowdy with away fans next to it and things. I thought it was decent, Alex. Yeah.
Do you know what? You've got such an opportunity there in the Osmond to make a racket and move those people who are in the corner in the pontoon into the Osmond and allow them just to make a racket. And as long as you keep that, there's so much. I was surprised. You don't see like behind the camera angle. There's a lot. It looks a bit like Barrow away up there. I feel sorry for the Gillingham fans who are looking through a cage in the corner, because they've now put some more grating up, haven't they, in between it? So it can't be the best of views, but it surely will allow you to put people in there if they want to make a bit of noise, and there's enough separation. No one's going to be throwing anything, hopefully. So I'll put them in there, create a bit of an atmosphere going, because it just felt a bit, I don't know, it didn't feel like it usually does, but maybe I'm just holding you all to a higher standard. Just want you to be better. I keep watching too much Bundesliga. That's what's the problem.
Just trying to hold us to a standard. I don't know about high standard.
Yeah,
just any standard.
Any standard.
Therefore, you say the solution is to allow us to drink in front in view of the pitch, because you can do that in the Bundesliga, can't you?
Absolutely. Let's get that on. Let's do that. Why not?
I hate to be a spoil, but I'd be, because like you see footage of like Box Park and so on during the World Cup.
I wouldn't want that. Yeah, I agree with that.
So what you'd have to do if you're going to do that, which I wouldn't be genuinely opposed to, you'd have to have like a kind of drinking area or a drinking stand.
So it'd be like the cricket. Yes. Let's turn the Osmond into it. We'll have beer snakes. We'll have drums. We'll have weird flags that people think stink. Can you remember that, Henry? Can you remember that old massive black and white flag?
Black and white Barmy Army flag or whatever it was that came out.
Absolutely stank.
Oh, but that was. I got stuck underneath that bloody thing at Chester one afternoon. It was one of the most horrendous experiences of my life.
Hang on. Chester's ground isn't big enough to have that up, is it? It's only got like six rows of seats, hasn't it?
Trust me, it was there. I remember getting stuck underneath it. It happened at, I can't remember. It came out with a period in the sort of late noughties to early to mid to early 2010s when it used to appear at far too many away matches.
All you could see is the ampersand. The stand was that small. It was just, why have they just got a white line with an ampersand in the middle of it?
Dear, oh dear. But just go back to the Harvey Rogers thing. We've got a lot of players, I think, who, Harvey Rogers being one, Camel Conti being another, Abu Issa being another, who are probably better than League Two if they stay in form and stay fit all season.
But I guess that's the question: is are they League Two because they can't?
Well, that was just the case with Issa. Conte is a bit of a random one, and he just looks a cut above in terms of his vision and his kind of comfort in possession. But we lose him next week, don't we? Which makes it a lot harder, because I was celebrating. Andy Cook walked off injured yesterday, apparently. So
sorry, why? I've missed this. Why are we missing Conte? For those of the under international. Fuck's sake! What is this stuff? It's like Danny Coyne all over again.
Yeah. So in theory, if he got called up to Sierra Leone, Abu Issa got called up for the Sudan, and then you got Harry Clifton called up for Wales, then we could call the game off.
So you're saying what we should have really concentrated on in transfer deadline day is picking up a couple of people from San Marino. They don't play, or Gibraltar. They don't play, but we go, hang on, we've got 3 players out. We can't play.
Wasn't James McEwen trying to become eligible for like San Marino?
Didn't you know? Didn't you know though? We interviewed him and we asked him about it, and it was to do with his mum didn't want to give him the birth certificate because apparently it wasn't a great relationship between her and his dad. And that wasn't cut. That is back in the interview. Go back and listen to it. We did one with Macca. It was amazing. But that
Buried
was
in the
apparently
archive somewhere.
that was apparently the reason is that his mum didn't want to give him the birth certificate.
I mean, I did that. I had that
Sam,
course on Friday,
this-
actually. Sorry.
This is why we should have kept Crocombe, you know, with his New Zealand call-ups.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your best mate.
Well,
He's down
I
with
don't know.
Peter Jackson as we speak, you know, getting ready for the New Zealand International.
Still, I think we'd have had enough. Oh, dear. That would have been a problem last year, wouldn't it? If Croker had actually been called up before the end of the season, we'd have ended up with going all the Battersby in nets.
That'd have been fine. As you say, Sam, all Max needed to do was to teach, Ollie how to go down with a bit of an ankle injury, a bit of, swelling in his leg, bit of cramp, and it'd have been fine.
Do we not think generally though that Eastwood's done pretty well so far? I think he's looked a clear improvement on Crocombe. I know I'm going to always think he's a clear improvement on Crocombe, but I think Eastwood, even if I can try and park my bias, I think he's obviously better.
Yeah,
I
agree. I think we said at the time when he came in, we've seen him before, and when he was here the first time, he gave, I don't think any of us any doubts he would be a fairly decent goalkeeper. He kept James McEwen out the side for quite a while, and played really well for a limited amount of time before he got injured. But I think he got a bit of a bad rap when he came in. But since he's been here, he's pulled out some great saves, some great performances. I think that's 3 clean sheets at Blood Park this season as well. He looks like he's
even in Yorkshire.
He looks like he's even starting to develop a good relationship with the back four. So yeah, really, really positive. I think the only slight thing is maybe a work on distribution a little bit, but other than that, I think he's been cracking. Yeah.
Yeah, I think from an Eastwood perspective, I think the only question mark I've got at the minute is distribution, which has been a bit ropey at times.
There you go. Look at that.
It's League Two, I mean,
it's still better than Crocombe's was.
Yeah, I would agree. I think he's been overall. I've been pleased with him so far. I think he's been good. So, long may it continue. And just on the Conti thing, Sierra Leone are playing Guinea-Bissau on a week on Monday, on the 11th.
Where can we watch it?
Oh, I don't know.
Are we going to have to find a dodgy stream?
There's
got to be the coach house or something in Grimsby's going to have that on, aren't they?
Guinea-Bissau away.
At least that means he should be available. It's not like one of these daft situations where he's playing on Thursday night, so he won't be able to play at Wrexham as well. He should be back for Wrexham a week in a fortnight, which is very important because I very much want to win at Wrexham.
Does anybody know if he's actually being called up?
Let me Google.
A week away would probably be the right sort of time to tell these players you're going to be playing.
Well, England announced their squad on Friday, didn't they?
Was none of our lads in that? I must have missed that one.
No. It says, sadly, Harvey Rodgers has not quite made the cut this year, even though he has played a lot more football than Harry Maguire.
So here are some of the players that, we can send Camille out to, try and persuade to come to us. Let's have a quick look. Is there anyone, worth stealing? Or anyone I know? Stephen Colker plays for Sierra Leone. Okay, I didn't know that. There's a guy called Prince Barry who I quite like, and Idris Kanu of Barnet. I don't know about him. Anyone remember him? Sam's gone.
So have they not announced their squad yet? Then?
No, it still has Camille as playing for thingy. Yeah, I've got nothing here. I'm afraid. No, nothing at all. Oh, can't Otis be called up for Pakistan?
He's injured anyway. But
yeah,
yes,
can't they just call it? Yeah. Can't they just call him up anyway so we can get our game called off? Well, there we go. I guess that's quite. Anybody else got anything to say about the wonderful performance we had on Saturday? Sam muted, so that's a no.
We haven't got a Bruce random tale of car parks or a history lesson to sort of filibuster the podcast this week, have we?
Is he available to come and tell us about a time in the 70s when he went to a Tesco?
Yeah,
that might,
exactly.
You know,
Boots meal deals used to be a 6 and an 8 And you still had a change from a halfpenny when you got your chicken and bacon sandwich.
Used to work 7 days a week, 25 hours a day.
25 hours a day, 8 days a week. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very funny. I don't really know what else we can say about it. I just really enjoyed it, and I parked pretty well, and I think getting away. It's just I think everybody who goes every week may take it for granted, but it is so beautiful to see Blundell Park packed, not just full, but packed. It's just something I dreamed of like 5 years ago. Like I would be happy with that now.
It's looking in really good nick as well, to be honest with you. I mean, it's the first time I've been back home since Dover, and then it had some stuff done, but it might have been that it was full and that it was a nice day, but it looks in good nick, which it didn't do for a lot of years. So,
what I will say is, you lads picked the right game to come. I mean, that's the nicest. You get 1, maximum 2 days weather-wise like that at Blundell Park a year. We won pretty convincingly. There was no toxicity in the atmosphere at all. It was that was as kind of good as it's going to get, I'd say, almost all season, without wishing to kind of put too much of a dampener on it. My experience of Blundell Park is cold, miserable people moaning. That's my Grimsby story.
And then I guess we've got Bradford away to come. Anyone got any thoughts on that? Who's going?
I'm going.
Mark Hughes looks like his head is on the block and the Grimsby Reaper is sharpening his scythe. So what are we expecting?
Abu Isa at 96th minute, 30-yarder, sends the away end into ecstasy. Are you looking forward to watching it on the telly, lads? Because it's all properly on the TV, isn't it? At 12:30.
Yeah, I might go to the pub for it.
Well, can I go to the pub before game, or someone's just, because I'm going to stay with one of my friends the night before, and going over from York on the. I mean, God knows what time.
Are you going to leave all your clothes at their place?
Dear oh dear. Yes. Hopefully I'll have less stuff this time, because I won't have to be going my nice stuff to fit in my bag. But
because you leave it everywhere.
I left one pair of pajamas in Bruce's back room.
That's a euphemism.
I had the unfortunate task of sharing a room with Sam on Friday night, so I can attest. Jesse's left a pair of pajamas. I wish he'd worn them, to be honest with you.
Talks in his sleep a lot. Hold me, Maggie. Hold me. Henry, what are your thoughts of the game coming up for Bradford? You can't not say it like that.
Bradford. Well, it's going to be another tricky one. I know they've not started the season particularly well, but away from home there, it's always going to be tough, really. And without Conte, assuming he's not available, it makes it even harder. So, I mean, go in. I don't think there's that much pressure on the team. And if they can get something from it, then brilliant. I think hopefully the weekend's performance will give them quite a lot of confidence to go into it. And, see what we get.
I don't know. I've got a weird confidence about next week that I don't like, because I believe it's unhealthy going into a game thinking that we might do quite well. But we've not beaten Bradford in any form since 1997. And I think it's about time that changed, really. Cook, as I mentioned earlier on, and Andrew Matthews has just mentioned down there, Cook walks off and he's had to go for a scan on his knee. So the chances of him playing next week are close to nil. And that was a difference, really, last season. If you remember the game in April, Waterfall was out injured, and Smith and Mark couldn't really cope with Cook as a unit. And that was that and there's a couple of goalkeeping errors that afternoon were the difference between the sides. So I know everyone's thinking, Sam getting stuck into Crocombe again. But I think we're pretty well equipped to go there and do something next week, actually.
And there you go, 3-0 win for Bradford oncoming.
Yeah, and you can blame me for that one. You can blame me for that one next week if that's what happens.
There you go. And I guess that's it. Any more? Or are we happy to wrap it up before the hour mark? This is what happens when you don't have Bruce on. Good. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. I did put the thing down. The pod shop on Etsy is now open. So if you want any prints, please do let us know and we'll get them sorted for you. Thank you for everyone who's already ordered them. You are far too kind. And with that, if you've got any questions throughout the week, throw them to us and we'll happily put them on. And any suggestions for the pod, or you'd like to come on and join us, then we're always happy to look to see what we can do with you as well. And I'll go round AOB. Mike, any AOB for you? Anything you need to plug, sell?
No. Do I need to plug Bruce's laptops because he's not here? Bruce has some laptops available.
Bruce has some laptops for
no
sale.
VAT.
I think Sam and Mike were witness to one of those sales at one point. It was, it was very Trotters independent traders. Yeah. He can sell you accessories as well. Sam, anything you want to plug? Any new new motions in order now recess is done?
Just as ever, really. Kind of anybody who's got a job going next October, come the great apocalypse, I'm always interested.
Can we try this? Sam tries next year. We can just film it as like 1 week he can be a steward and we can document it. Next week he can work in B&Q or something. We just follow him around.
Sam, I can get you a job as a harvest seasonal because your government did such a good job of stopping everyone coming over to do that. So there's plenty of work available.
Yeah, there's a lot of broccoli. There's a lot of broccoli to pick.
Don't blame me for that one.
Please
don't blame me for that one. I did everything in my power to stop that happening. But
if your EU sized 43 shoe fits, then let him wear it. Henry, anything you would like to plug? Are you any more seasonal work going on that you need to pitch for in Cambridgeshire? Sam's gone. Internet's gone.
No, just about got to the end of the crazy season now. So the only thing I will plug is the start of the NFL next Sunday. Joys.
Is it at Tottenham or whatever?
It will be, but not until October.
Do you know who you got to watch yet?
What, in London?
Yeah.
Yeah, they announced the games ages ago, but they're crap, so Dad and I didn't bother.
Is it the Jacksonville whatevers?
Yes.
Do you stay up and watch the games on a Sunday night on the West Coast then that start at like 9 o'clock at night and don't finish till 1
a.m.? The team I support, they're West Coast, so it starts at about 9:30. Yeah, so
I've noticed something. There's for those watching, there's an awful lot of blue lights going past Sam's house. I don't know if you've noticed it. Is there something going on, Sam?
I live on a busy road in London, and I've got the blind open. I've not shut it since it got dark, so there's often there's police cars, fire engines, and so on going down.
Basically, Sam's front room looks like Good Morning America. I nearly went Yorkshire. Good Morning America with Good Morning America with people stood outside his window. Yeah, with his little placards going, "Hi, Sam."
Are they coming to ask you about laptops? That might be what's going on.
Laptops? No, I'm denying it. That's plausible deniability. I was in the other room when the transaction took place.
What was that film with Will Smith in where he was, he had that weird USB device that got thrown in his bag and his life got turned upside down? I can't remember. Who did it have in it? I want to say Gene Hunt, but that's not true. That's the bloke from Life on Mars.
Was it Aladdin?
No, it wasn't Aladdin. Yeah, that was it. It was an Aladdin. But there we go. So, NFL's on soon. Buy a print. Sam needs a job. And Mike is happy to be an accessory to Bruce's underhand dealings. So there we go. Thank you all very much for joining us. It's always really appreciated. And we shall see you all next week. In the meantime, go listen to the Burnsy interview. Go listen to the DN35 thing. And if you want to give us, a nice review on wherever you get your podcasts, it would be greatly appreciated because this is a lot more work than you think. See you later. Bye.
Open wide for some soccer!
And now the shipping forecast issued by the Met Office on behalf of the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency at 1130. Go! At 1130.
I don't think I've ever wanted to be in a stand more than my life around there. They're going crazy. Hey, they got a penalty here. There'll be fish flying about that. There's no tomorrow.
What a magnificent piece of football! Really